No, obviously we all know the game time for Miami, 7 o'clock here at Scott Stadium. Another opportunity for a nationally televised game. We took last week, some of the days of last week, open date, and had an opportunity to work on ourselves, get some guys back, get some guys healed, and look forward to playing these last two games, and particularly this one because it's our last home game for a group of seniors that I consider great young men, and a lot of them, most of them, will graduate and do big things in life. So, this will be an important week for us to get ready, and I know our seniors are looking forward to this as well as the whole team. Another opportunity to play here at Scott Stadium and a chance to win a football game. So I'll take any questions.
Did you find self-scouting beneficial? Did you find some things that you might want to readjust or whatever?
It's always good to again self-scout yourself, and you take that information and you're very cognizant of what you do and how you do it. But for the most part, a chance for some guys that have been nicked up to get well, to get better. Even going into this week, we're still looking at some guys getting themselves back to being 100%. Even though at this point, sometimes you're not always 100% at this point of the season. And you just kind of look at yourselves and you get ready for this particular game, which is a very important game for us. And you look to improve. We've been improving. As I said, come out of the last game that we played against Florida State, who the #2 team in the country, you saw some good things that we did. But obviously you always look at things that can cost you opportunities, and and the turnovers that occurred in that game were significant. But it's been, this team is, as I said before, has been fun to coach in that they're very competitive. You see improvement. And this is a game against another opponent who, by the way, just played, the last team that we played, that you see some things that occurred in that game as well that you may have to make sure yourselves that you handle. And so this week of practice will be very, very productive for us as we go into the Miami week.
Like you missed.
I got the mic.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
No problem.
See that Brandon's back on the depth chart. What's his status for Saturday, as well as that bunch of all those linemen?
Again, he's back on it. We'll see. We don't practice on Mondays. We'll practice tomorrow, Wednesday, and Thursday. So we'll have the opportunities to kind of gauge where he is, as well as any other guys that missed the game or came out of the game because of injury. It's always important that Tuesday following, that tomorrow being an important day for us to see kind of where these guys are, and based on the the advice of our doctors and trainers about where they are, where they're projected.
Go ahead, David. Our mic's not working yet.
Okay. Duke Johnson missed this game last year, but 2 years ago you got an eyeful of him. I'm sure you've seen an eyeful on tape this year. No disrespect to James Conner. Is this kid the best back that you guys will have seen?
Well, he is definitely one of the more talented backs in college football. I mean, you look at him, he runs hard, he's a physical runner, he's a downhill runner who can also, jump cut and run to the outside. So he is a special talent. In the games that you watch, that he gets his yardage. I mean, he creates yardage. He runs away from guys, he runs through arm tackles. And so you see why he is one of the best running backs, in the country. And I will give him that he's a talented young man, and not just arm tackling or guys getting around the ball. I mean, you're going to have to hit and wrap up on him because he is, he's a guy that can make extra yardage for himself just by his sheer effort alone.
Mike, you have a number of marquee players in the senior class, Kevin Parks, Ant, and so on. You also have guys like Fitch, Gallup, Stephen Law, who don't play much, if at all. How important are they to an organization, the guys who are kind of behind the scenes and don't get the headlines?
They're always important. The names Fitch, Gallup, Stephen Law are guys that have been here in the program for a while, and particularly Fitch and Gallup were walk-ons that I felt happy to give scholarships to. You know, Stephen Law's been here again for a while, but hadn't got a whole lot of playing time. But he's been a guy that's been a selfless guy. Whatever his role was on the team, he embraced it. He'll be a graduate of this university, and you know, you want guys like that to have an opportunity to, one, play if possible, and two, go out on a positive note. And it's always the guys that are behind the scenes that kind of fill in the roles that other guys don't want to play, whether it's a scout team role or guy that will be the extra lineman if you need a lineman. And those guys that you mentioned, along with I could name about 5 or 6 others that, you know, have been good teammates, have been good students, have been good people, have been good student athletes for this university. And so, you know, their success just doesn't lie on the football field. It lies within the fact that they will have accomplished getting a degree here, and they've done things in the classroom, in the community that I'm proud of, and I know that they're proud of.
Mike, does your approach to a bye week or open week change depending on when it falls? I know the last one was smack dab in the middle of the season. This one's a little bit later. Did you do anything much differently than you did after the Pitt game of that week?
Well, after the Pitt game, we took some elements of the Georgia Tech offense and looked at some things like that. This one, you know, basically for us was to get guys that are, you know, nursing injuries, to get them healed, and then also, you know, kind of self-evaluate yourself again, and then, so to speak, go back to fundamentals. And we did a lot of that, and we had a chance to, you know, to do, you know, extra Miami work because they're a team that runs the ball well, and they're a team that also will throw the ball vertically. So there's some games, some teams we played this year that have, you know, similar kind of concepts, and so we focus on those.
Darius told us today that he's requested to wear number 17 this week, Miles Gooch's number, and says he ran it by you. Is there any kind of petition or anything involved in that? Is there anything that would keep players from, like, changing numbers every week if they wanted to?
I don't know the answer to that question, but I do know that the reasons why Darius wanted to make the change to Miles' number was one that just born out of the love for a teammate, and the fact that you know, Miles his final few games were ended here rather abruptly, and that, you know, that's a guy that he wants to honor by wearing his number as, you know, as we play these last couple games here. So, you know, Miles had his operation last week, and he's still walking, he's still on crutches, and he's kind of getting around, moving around. But you know, one of the great things about Miles Gooch is the fact that I was able to give him a letter sent by the NFL Players Association. There's an all-star game, and he along with Anthony Harris were elected, you know, to be members in that game. And obviously he won't be able to play in it, but I hope there is a way that we can still send him for him to experience that, you know, that the atmosphere there, although he can't play. But if there's a way, we're hoping that he can still travel and enjoy that, you know, that recognition and kind of end this thing in a positive way for him.
Coach, Miami's been starting a freshman quarterback all year, Brad Kaya, but he's been playing well above a freshman quarterback. Just talk about how he looks and how you guys will approach playing him this week.
You know, Brad Kaya has been playing really well. He's surrounded by a very dynamic and talented group of players. You got Duke Johnson, you got Dorsett on the outside. They have a tight end that's really good. So, and they're playing with a defense that's played well. Brad is a guy that they do a good job protecting him. Not very many sacks against him. He's a tall guy that's been accurate for them and is not afraid to you know, throw the ball downfield. So he's done well for what they've asked him to do, and he is, you know, has turned himself into being a guy that's very reliable and dependable, you know, for their team. And, you know, obviously he's a significant player in their team. I don't remember if they played a second quarterback. Every game I've looked at, I've seen him playing most of the snaps there. So, but he's done a phenomenal job for them, and I'm sure they're counting on him to finish up their season as well, being productive.
God,
Denzel Perryman's a guy that's been around for a while and kind of that star role at the linebacker for Miami. Henry's kind of emerged on the scene here, at least league-wide, this season. How would you compare kind of those two, their games? Are they pretty similar? And would you rank those two guys near the top of the ACC in terms of linebackers?
Well, obviously Perriman, you're right. It seems like he's been there forever, but he's a very, very good football player. He's involved in a lot of their special teams as well. You see him running down on whether it's kickoff. He's a very physical player, and you can see that he's kind of the emotional leader, defensively for them. Henry has emerged for us as a guy that's gotten better over the years. Last year, first time calling the defense. We all know that this defense is predicated upon the linebackers getting the players in position. Henry did a good job last year, but he's done a better job this year. His numbers, his contribution to the team is something that's very, very important for us and to us. And he has done things I believe he's our sack leader. So there's a lot of things he's done to put himself in a position to be considered, in that group of good linebackers in the ACC, a two-time academic performer. And so, there's a complete package of what Henry has done in his career here and also the last few years he's played here in the ACC.
What kind of reaction do you think that game the other night will have on Miami? And as you're watching the game, does that enter your thinking as to, gee, will Miami be more fired up if they lose or if they win or that kind of stuff, or do you just totally have that out of your head at all?
Well, I'm out of the prognosticating business of how people feel after wins or big losses or whatever it might be. I do know, I know Al Golden personally. We're friends. We were on the same staff together at Boston College, same staff together here. Our families are friends. And I know that was a big game for them. And, I can also see the fact that, if you're playing well, although in our case, in the second half, we did a great job second half-wise in limiting them to 2 field goals. But you do know that you feel as the ebb and flow of the game goes and you're playing against, again, one of the nation's elite teams, that sometimes you feel like you have them on the ropes and then things happen. The tip pass that fell into the running back's hands. Sometimes the ball bounces different ways. And so when you're watching the game, you just kind of see that those are momentum turners or those things that happen in the game that change the complexion of the game. But they played a good team. We played a good Florida State team. But Florida State, until somebody else beats them, is playing well enough to win all their games. So I have no idea about what their mindset will be. I know our mindset will be it's our last home game for our seniors, and 7 o'clock game. Our students and fans and people that have an opportunity to come out on a Saturday night. I'm hoping we'll come out and we'll play this last home game, for these seniors.
Did the Miami game last year give you your first, and the staff, the first real glimpse of confidence that Grayson could handle, being a starting quarterback, and he threw him in there at the end? And then this year as a starting quarterback, what do you think is keeping him from being consistent all the time?
Well, he did play in that game last year. There's some things he did that was obviously positive for him. This year the reality of it, he's a first-year starter in the ACC. You always look at quarterbacks and you look at completions and the percentage and efficiency. And I know that he knows that he can improve in that area. And I just think the opportunity to play. Whether it's Matt Johns or Grayson, they're still first-year guys that have taken a significant amount of reps, against some pretty good teams or our schedule that we played. And, they'll get better as they keep playing. And, we're going to need him to play his best game against a Miami team that's coming in here this Saturday.
I guess we hear a lot about Miami's offense because of all those dynamic players, but talk a little bit about their defense. It seems like they've made a lot of improvement there.
You know, defensive, they have done a pretty good job. Again, you go back, you look at Perriman, you look at Chicolo, you look at their D linemen, their rushers. You know, they can rush 4 guys that are very athletic and can put pressure on a quarterback. Their corners are guys that don't mind playing man coverage, and so their defense has done a very good job for them in keeping them in games. Their formula again is their offense is pretty dynamic. They play good defense, and you see that the ebb and flow of how the offense and defense plays for them. But not only Perriman, but there's other guys you can point out as being guys that are pushing the pocket, that are playing man coverage, and making great plays. You saw some plays again being made. A game against Florida State, on the back end, interceptions and pass breakups. So it's a team, a Miami team that's improved, and that's what we're looking to do, continue to improve. And the next game to show if we've improved coming off the Florida State game is against a very good Miami team.
The Pitt game being the last home game you guys had at night was also your last win. It seemed like your guys really fed off of that whole night thing, had that really good first half. Can you channel some of that again to have it repeat itself on Saturday? I mean, what do you like about your guys kind of embracing the whole under the lights thing?
Andrew, whatever the game time is, you want them to be competitive. You want them to love the opportunity to play, in a competitive football game. This happens to be a home game for us. It happens to be another night game. And, I know the guys have expressed some excitement about playing on the national, scale again and having an opportunity to play, as we talked to one of the best running backs in college football. A very dynamic football team. Our last home game for our seniors. So there's other reasons for us also to want to play well here, and that's the focus for us is to play competitive, play well, and enjoy the atmosphere and enjoy, here's another opportunity again to show who you are and what you want to be.
Rosters turn over, of course, in college football, but having won 3 of the last 4 against Miami, is there a sense of at least confidence there, and do you use that when you talk to the team?
There are players here that have been part of those wins, and there are players that have experienced a win, both in Miami and obviously the games here in Charlottesville. But it all boils down to still executing on game day, the game that you this Saturday night against them. So there's a handful of guys that had significant roles or played a part in that victory. And there's some that were here on the team but didn't travel, some that were being recruited and saw the game. But, this is a different Miami team, and I believe we're a different team. I believe we're a different team that's improved as the season has gone on. But, we got to play our best football game now. And as we finish up these last 2 games, we saw, turnovers, 3 turnovers in the red zone is not going to get it for you against a team that's number 2 in the country. We saw making decisions, correct decisions with the ball is imperative for your success. So, this game against Miami here at home still has to be about us executing and about us making, whether it's quarterbacks or receivers or coverage guys, making good decisions about what we do and executing. And that's what we're looking for, to show improvement from this last game to this game. And this game is, again, is in a spotlight of a lot of people. And if we want to be better as a football team and move forward, we have to be able to do this.
Coach, just piggybacking on what you were talking about as far as the bye week is concerned, is there anything you did differently in this bye week than the previous one you had? Obviously, you guys would have liked to play better coming out of that, but this time, anything you did differently, and was there any talk about, the bowl picture and all that kind of stuff as a goal for this team?
We always talk about taking care of ourselves, Jay. The question was asked earlier, and I kind of give the same sort of answer, in that the first bye, because we were playing a team like Georgia Tech, we kind of used a practice at least for that because of the difference of that style. This one was more so of, you know, taking care of ourselves and you know, getting guys, you know, healthy or trying to get them healthy and just doing the fundamentals just over and over and over again. No matter what scheme you have, no matter what you do, if you're not fundamentally sound in that, you have to keep preaching that over and over again, then that's how you can get better as a, you know, as a player. And then the player gets better, then the unit gets better. The unit gets better, then the team gets better. And that's been the focus for us.
Talked about Duke Johnson and that challenge, but what do you like about your run defense? You've only given up like one 100-yard rusher all year, and it was, you know, days from Georgia Tech, and they're normally they go 100 on teams just because of their style. What have you liked the most about your run defense, and how much confidence do you have in it going into Saturday?
Now, that's got to be one of the big component for us to have success is our defense to play well. And you know, you look at it, I believe we are in the top 30 of you know, total defenses. And, you know, that's been a big improvement as well. I believe up front, guys have been very physical, you know, have been very productive in terms of creating negatives, tackles for losses, you know, things that, you know, can disrupt running lanes. And that's going to be critical for us, because, like I said, because, you know, Miami is a team that will line up with two tight ends and a fullback in the back and say, we're going to run the ball right here, and you got to stop us. You know, there's no pretense about what they do. So it's going to be important that when we line up, whatever defense that we have called, that we beat blocks, we have our hats in the gap, and then we tackle Duke Johnson. Not only Duke, I mean, they have other running backs that come in as well. But you know, defensively, you know, it's an improved defense, and it's one that's going to have to keep us in the game. Go back to that hits on the quarterback, sacks, go back to creating turnovers as they did in the Florida State game. That's kind of one of the formulas for us to have success is we got to play well defensively.
You got a lot of questions in July in Greensboro about your job future, et cetera. We haven't asked you much over the course of the season. Have you been able to put that out of your mind totally, or does it pop up from time to time?
You know, my biggest focus is on this team and during, you know, the opportunity for this game against Miami. That's all I concern myself with is that. Now, this team, as I said, this team has been competitive, improved, and now the next opportunity to show how much of an improvement coming out of a Florida State game is this Saturday. And so that's, you know, that's all I concern myself with.
Sort of following up on that, I know you're a real positive guy, but how frustrating is it to you and some of the other coaches when you're sitting around thinking about it that, you know, play here or play there, you guys could have 5, 6 wins or more if things had just broken differently for you?
Yeah, you always look at things that if it coulda, shoulda, woulda. The bottom line is they didn't occur. You know, football is always a game of 4 or 5 plays away, and again, this is a season for us outside of the Georgia Tech game that, you know, bounces here or there. You know, we're looking at, you know, a different set of circumstances, but the reality is we are where we are right now, and the only thing we can control now is the next 2 games, and the most important game of the next game that's coming up, again against a very good Miami team.